Scott Peterson, also known as the coward from Broward, which I don't like that at all, has been acquitted of all charges. Now, this was the resource officer, not security guard, the resource officer at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And he is the one who did not engage with the mass shooter, who is now doing life sentence after life sentence and didn't get lethal injection, which is what he should have gotten. But in any event, he was acquitted. And a lot of the victims and the victims' families are calling him the coward from Broward, and they're saying that it doesn't change the fact that he didn't engage. I'm sure that he can never go to any law enforcement gatherings. I'm sure that in law enforcement, he's probably persona non grata. And again, it's a very difficult situation from where I stand, because I don't want to call somebody a coward, but at the same time, I've seen a lot of channels say that when you're a security officer at a school, you expect a certain degree of danger, and it's your job to protect the students. This was not a security guard. This was a resource officer. He was a police officer that worked in a school, licensed by the state as a peace officer, armed, trained, had the resources. And the fact that he didn't engage, I mean, could he have saved lives? Absolutely. Could he have neutralized that killer? Absolutely. He could have put that killer in the ground, but he didn't. He didn't do anything of the sort. And having to be put on trial, takes a humongous toll, I'm sure. And his family, terrified that he's going to have to go to prison, also takes a toll. But I don't know what to tell you. I mean, to me, I don't know how the families are processing it. And if the families of the victims and of the deceased victims want to call him the coward from Broward, hey, that's all on them. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to judge them for it. I feel bad for the officer, but at the same time, if the shoe fits, right? I mean, he's not going to prison. I don't think he's going to get sued. I mean, he might get sued by the families. I don't know. I don't know if that suit would work. I don't know. I feel bad that he's known as the coward from Broward. I feel bad that people are calling him a coward, but at the same time, that is a very, very light cross to bear compared to with the families of the victims and victims themselves. There were kids that were wounded, and there were kids that may not have been wounded, but have the PTSD and the horrors that they saw. And you compare that pain to him being dubbed the coward from Broward or shunned by the law enforcement community. It's not, he doesn't have very much to complain about, you know what I mean? And also the hugging on the family and the elation of being a free man. I understand it to a point. I do, but I hope that it ended at the court. You know what I mean? This is not something that he should be grandstanding about. It's not something he should be, renting a banquet hall and toasting to, because at the end of the day, whether you want to call him a coward or whatever, he could have saved lives. He could have ended that nightmare simply by unholstering his weapon and putting 1 or 5 or 6 or whatever, neutralizing the gunman. And I know that a lot of officers would say, if it was me, I would have done it, but you just don't know. That's where it's the flip side. It's a situation where, I think maybe his own selfishness came into play. And what I mean by that is maybe he wanted to come home to his family. Maybe he didn't want there to be orphans or widows. Maybe, and that's, again, and that's a human instinct. But when you're a police officer, especially a resource officer, and it's your job to keep students safe, and you don't do that, then I think that's a problem. That's a problem. And how he got acquitted, I don't know.